All right, guys, let's talk about the top 12 rookies for your Dynasty SuperFlex drafts. Now, we're actually going to run with 13 instead of 12 because it felt wrong to leave Sean Tucker off this list. So let's go with those bottom two, kind of a 12A, 12B, Sean Tucker and Josh Downs. I have Downs slightly higher than Tucker, simply for the fact that wide receivers are going to age usually better than running backs in the NFL. But Tucker has just had an insanely productive season. He's been the core focus of the Syracuse offense, and he's looked really good. The only concerns are, where his landing spot's going to be in the draft, how late, how early he'll go, and whether he's ever going to get a full workload in the NFL, in my opinion. And then with Downs, he's just a great athlete. He can really make things happen after the catch. So obviously, I had to put him on this list. Then next at 11, we have the Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. I personally don't think Levis is going to get the draft capital that a lot of people are claiming right now, but obviously he's a lot of time to prove himself to NFL scouts. As of right now, I don't think he's getting that capital, but in Superflex, quarterbacks are a priority, so got to put him at 11 for now. I don't think he'll be at 11 as we get closer to the draft and get a better idea of where he's going to end up. And then with the next two, we have another AB, very close ranking here, Zach Evans and Tank Bigsby. Now, while I love Tank Bigsby's name, Zach Evans has just shown to be more explosive as of right now, and unlike the running backs that you're going to see at the top of this list, being Bijan and Gibbs, Evans and Bigsby, I'm not entirely sold on the fact that they'll dominate regardless of landing spot, like I think Bijan and Gibbs will. So draft capital is going to have a very high effect on where these two end up as we get closer to the draft. But hey, they're good running backs. We'll see how it pans out as they get closer to the draft. And then at 8, we have Anthony Richardson, the Florida quarterback. Now, Richardson has the potential to be a game-breaking asset in fantasy football. And his ultimate ranking for me is going to heavily depend on where he lands in the draft in terms of draft capital. But as of right now, I'm in love with the potential, which is why I have him at 8. At 7, we have Kayshon Boutte. Now, he has not had a lot of production over the course of his career, especially this year when you're really expecting him to take a second leap. But part of that could be some quarterback problems and just other talent that LSU has at wide receiver. But his just raw ability, raw talent, again, another guy that has huge potential, is likely going to lead to first-round draft capital when we get to draft day. He's got the frame and the ball skills to just be a dominant X-wide receiver, so you should feel comfortable taking him at around 7. Next, at 6, we have another wide receiver in Jordan Addison. Now, he's the wide receiver that helped Kenny Pickett become a first-round draft pick, and he's looked great again this year. And his production last year kind of bumps him over Boutte for me, so that's why I have him at 6 instead of 7. Now we get to the top 5. At 5, I'm going with Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, he's been dominant these past 3 weeks and has the pass-catching chops to just be an elite fantasy asset. But I personally think that these guys that I have ranked above him are just going to be better players. I mean, in terms of combination of ceiling, longevity, floor, this is a very tough class to rank because of how good the talent is. But I think it's fair to put Gibbs at 5 over these other guys I currently have ranked above him. One of those guys, at number 4, being Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Now, he's been dealing with a hammy injury, but, I mean, he was a beast, outplaying 2 first-round wide receivers as a 19-year-old. And, I mean, he's insane. You don't have to overthink this pick. He is very, very good. He is a super young breakout age. He's been dominant. He shows that he has the separation to perform at the next level. He has a good frame. This is an easy pick. Jaxon at 4. Now at 3, this is where it really gets tough with these top 3 guys. I'm going CJ Stroud. Now, he's been very good, but the question you always have to ask is how much of it is the Ohio State offense. Part of the reason that, spoiler alert, I have Bryce Young at 2 is because of the poor play of OSU quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, obviously with both of these QBs, landing spot is going to be a huge factor, but right now, they both seem locked in to get super high draft capital, which is all you can really hope for. And personally, I hope that Stroud breaks the streak of bad OSU QBs, but I really have him and Young, at least right now before we get a landing spot, just right next to each other. And I think Young has a higher chance. Maybe it's just, it might be bias. I'm not an OSU fan, and we've seen quarterbacks come out of OSU and not perform well. That's probably realistically the reason why I have him at 3 instead of 2. So too with Bryce Young. He obviously had that AC joint injury, but he's back. He's looked great. Again, this is an easy pick. Don't overthink this. If he gets top 5 draft capital like expected, this is just an easy pick. Lock it in. But, of course, the 101 in your rookie drafts who, in my opinion, if you don't leave your draft with Bijan and you have the number 1 overall pick, I feel like you just go home just feeling like horrible. He just looks insane. He looks like a generational talent, like a Saquon-level prospect. And considering the high draft capital that's expected out of Young and Stroud, it's very hard to put him at 1. And obviously the priority that QBs have in SuperFlex. But like I said, if I have the 101, I just feel worse if I leave the draft without Bijan. He looks amazing. So I really think you have to put him at 1 over the quarterbacks right now. Obviously, time will tell what happens on draft day. We'll get a better idea of how draft capital is going to fall for all these players. There's just so much talent in this draft. If you don't have 23 firsts, I'm sorry for you, because this class is going to rule the NFL for the foreseeable future. So thank you for watching, and go out and get some picks if you haven't already.